to another review of Death with me, Matt, and this fellow, Billy. Say hello.
Hello.
Hello. So, Doctor Who has been and gone again.
For another year.
For another year. Or 6 months.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but it seems weirder because we've had a year of nothing beforehand.
Yeah, it's true.
So I kind of feel I don't trust them. Like, is it really going to be on next year, or are you lying to us?
Never know.
Never know.
You never know. Yeah, so Series 10 has been and gone. Bill has... Oh, yeah.
Been and gone.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, spoiler
Spoilers,
alert,
obviously.
this is obviously going to be full of spoilers. Yeah, she's been and gone. Or has she? You never know. Yeah, so we're going to do our annual roundup of the series, going through every episode from start to finish. Bear in mind, I've not watched any of the first lot of episodes since they aired, so I might be a bit hazy on the details, but that's the fun of this, to see how much I've been paying attention.
Absolutely.
What about you? Have you been watching
Well, I've been
more?
lucky because I've spent most weekends up in Wolverhampton. So I've seen them with one set of people,
Yeah.
and then I've had to come back and watch it again with Mum and Dad,
Yeah.
who always save it for me to come back.
As a just to start, just to say how much I've enjoyed this series, I watched every episode more than once,
Ooh.
which I haven't done for a while.
No.
I used to, and then after a while I was just like, once was enough.
I think maybe the first couple of episodes of Series 8, and then some stuff from Series 7B, I rewatched quite a bit, but I guess that was because it was the 50th anniversary year, and also it was Capaldi's first year after that, Series 8. So there was more of an incentive to watch it. But this time I've just been rewatching them because it's kind of fancy watching them again.
Yeah. I think it's just nice after a year of not having any Doctor Who on the telly.
Yeah.
It's just nice, we're like...
Every Saturday night. And now, what are we going to do this Saturday?
I said that to Kat, I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do with Saturdays now. She's like, well, you could spend time with me. I was like, well, yeah, but it's Doctor Who.
At least a couple of years ago, it would have been like, okay, we've got another week because it's 13 episodes.
Yeah.
I don't understand why it's... I mean, probably for budgetary reasons.
Yeah.
But I don't understand why it's reverted from 13 back down to 12.
Yeah.
So instead of getting 14 episodes a year, including the Christmas special.
And the rumours are going around that the Chibnall era might be down to 10 episodes.
At an hour in length?
But possibly an hour in length.
Okay, because I think we've had some questions about that.
And on a Sunday as well. Sunday nights. Prime drama time.
I wonder if he's won any favours with people in the community with that judgment, or if it's...
I think it's... Well, I mean, we'll talk about this later on, but I do think it's probably a good idea.
Okay. Let's get onto that in a bit.
Right.
Anyway,
so
number one.
Episode 1, the pilot. So, it was all about a pilot. I think we had this discussion in an earlier video, because people were like, oh, why is it called the pilot? I said, probably because there's a pilot in it. And it was.
And because Stephen was trying to be clever.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a brand new show and all that.
But it's not. Well...
It kind of felt a bit like...
It felt a bit, didn't it?
Just because it was a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about this the other day, because I think a lot of people... This might be the flavour for all the episodes we go through. I was thinking about this the other day. Is it just a case that because a lot of what we've seen over the last few years has been tripe,
Yeah.
that this year... It was like, because it was mediocre.
Yeah.
Maybe it was mediocre, but we actually all just went, oh, thank God this was not terrible.
Yeah. But that's the thing. I don't know, because, I mean, I went into this series with, like, zero expectations.
Yeah.
I think I said in an earlier video, like, it might have been Return of Dr. Mysterio, I saw the Next Time trailer for the series, and I was just like, same old. And I'm very glad that I came out at the other end not thinking that.
I feel like we... even though we had a reason to kind of be a bit dubious about the quality of the series, I feel like we've kind of had to eat our words.
Yeah,
online
well, I'm happy. I'm glad.
Which is
had
good.
To. Yeah.
But having said that, for anyone who thinks like we're getting soft, no, and also that we've had to kind of eat our words and go, actually, Doctor Who is brilliant. There wasn't a reason for us to be excited about it beforehand.
Yeah.
But it just so happens that most of the episodes this year were cracking.
Yeah.
So let's just get into it. So the pilot.
So introduction of Bill. I mean, that's really all it was. It was just Bill. This is Bill. Say hello to Bill. I mean, there wasn't really much of the monster, the puddle monster, Heather. That was never really explained.
It's the least threatening name for a monster in the world.
Never really explained as to why. Like where the puddle came from or anything like that. Which, I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter.
I think it does if she comes back to play a major role in the finale.
Yeah.
I think it does matter then.
And like the eye thing, like the star in her eye, like was that really a necessary
I think the way that
she
touched her eye, she was like, "It's not my tears" or whatever. Yeah. And Stephen used it as a flashback, as if we were all to go, "Oh!" Yeah. But it's like we weren't to know that was supposed to be important.
Yeah.
Like, you know, there was nothing. There was no trickle of information.
Yeah.
To lead us to think that she would be important again.
No.
I think maybe in the days leading up to it, I did see some stuff online about Heather coming back.
A lot of stuff online.
But that I didn't. I kind of ignored it.
I thought,
why?
I think I ignored it just because I thought, I hope that doesn't happen. And also it did.
Yeah.
I mean, Kat guessed it as we were watching it. She said, "I bet that puddle girl comes back to like save her or something." Yeah. Like, nah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she did.
But the pilot itself, yeah, it was good. It was good fun. I think that something that's very interesting, and I think there's almost a thread of quality that runs through it that I think you can attribute to Nardole as a character.
Yeah.
Because he's nothing in this episode.
Yeah.
And you can tell, and when you read it in Doctor Who magazine, it becomes very clear. He was such a late minute addition.
Yeah.
Like all drafts have been handed in, done. Oh, hang on, Matt Lucas is back. Okay, there, take it back.
Yeah.
And it's very obvious that he was a late addition to it. And we made a joke about that. Do you remember the joke, the front cover of Doctor Who magazine?
Oh, yeah.
Where he's just kind of in the background.
Yeah,
and it was a publicity shot from the Wedding of River Song or whatever it was. And it was like, he's very clearly not meant to be in that photograph.
Yeah.
So I think that's very interesting that it got rushed that quickly. But you can tell.
Yeah.
But overall,
it worked okay.
Yeah, he was fine.
It didn't feel too bad. I did like you said. I mean, I sort of said to you, I think once the pilot aired, I said I enjoyed that story. Still don't really get why Nardole's there.
Yeah.
And I still don't really like his story. Was never really. It didn't really ever sort of go anywhere. I mean, we learned sort of why he was there. That I guess River put him up to looking after the Doctor or whatever. But we still didn't really get the truth behind what he is, because that bolt falls out of his trouser leg or whatever in the pilot. That is never talked about again.
I think it's one of those things, the classic Stephen Gatiss kind of thing. Not Stephen Gatiss, but Stephen / Mark Gatiss thing, where they it's the promise of something that's going to happen, and it's like, ooh, what's going on here? And then
but it never
happens.
Does. Yeah, and I've seen a criticism that I've seen online a lot. Obviously, the big arc for at least the first half of this series was the oath. You know, the Doctor's oath, and so many people have gone like, well, what was that all about? Like,
I never really noticed that. I noticed obviously the vault.
The vault, yeah,
was the big thing. In terms of the oath, I just kind of thought, it's just to protect whoever's in there or protect the world from whatever's in there.
Yeah. It didn't really. That never really sort of paid off.
No.
I mean, I think everyone guessed. I think it was quite funny. Like I guessed it was Missy from. I can't remember what episode it was.
But nobody wanted it.
And no one wanted. So many people denied it. It was like, no, it's John Sim. It was like, you are going down a path of disappointment, my friends.
I didn't even think it'd be John Sim. I thought it'd be something completely different. I just thought, they might do something that's totally not telegraphed.
Completely left field.
Yeah. But never mind.
Yeah.
But on the whole, I thought the pilot was a really cool introduction. I think it kind of set the tone for the rest of the series, really.
It did, yeah.
Because it did. You left it going, and then episode 2 comes around, Smile.
Yeah.
Which I like more than the first episode.
Yeah. Smile was a funny one for me because I sort of liked bits of it, but I think the ending felt a bit rushed, and I still don't really quite get how it ended.
The end of it was blah 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 blah. Understand? Okay, cool. End credits. It was like, it was so full of technobabble that they felt like that whole scene when the Doctor's in that circular room. And there's a big flash, and then everything's okay again. And then he goes on and explains it, and I was kind of, hey, get back.
Stop. Hang on a minute.
I think the problem was that there were fundamental things that were set up at the start of the episode that weren't really explained.
Yeah.
And at the end of the episode, the Doctor talks about those fundamental blocks as the reason why everything's okay again. Like the kind of modular thing where the city's made out of those things.
Like the nanobot things,
and it's like, okay, that's a cool idea. I don't understand quite why they're part of the building and they're also killing other things, or like, like maybe it's a defense mechanism, like the Exelon City or whatever.
Yeah.
But that was never really explained, and then the Doctor kind of does some stuff, and then that's it, and that's the end. And it's a bit.
Yeah, it was just like, oh, so all of a sudden, no, it's fine. These robots aren't going to kill you anymore. It was like, yeah, but why? Like, why? Why? How is it that quick? You know,
It was funny. It had some elements of proper classic sci-fi.
Yeah.
But it was kind of wrapped up in a kind of Russell T Davies kind of fluffy cushion.
Yeah.
And then put out there, and they didn't gel a lot of the time. It reminded me. I could very much see that as a Seventh Doctor episode.
Okay.
Like just the setting and the way that it kind of the way the act sort of progressed up to the big thing at the end, and then everything's resolved. And well, that's every Doctor episode. That isn't strictly the Seventh Doctor, but I just thought it had an air of a Seventh Doctor episode about it.
I mean, I saw a lot of comparisons to Ark in Space, because obviously the first episode of Ark in Space, it is just the Doctor and his companions wandering around.
Yeah. Because they spent all the money on the flight over there, so they couldn't afford.
Yeah, they couldn't afford any actors.
Any other actors over.
Yeah, and it felt like a bit of a waste of the guest actors who were in it, you know, because there was some good.
Yeah, they hyped up that dude appearing in it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Oh, from Royal Family.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name.
There was a video of him on the TARDIS set.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, he must be playing quite a key character, and he was in it for all of 10, 15 minutes, if that, and didn't do anything. He did
nothing. You could have got anyone to play that,
because it was the lines he was saying as well. It was just like, I don't think you were supposed to cast like a big name in that story. But then again, having said, I didn't know who he was.
Yeah. Okay.
I didn't recognise him.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel like if that's the draw for the episode, because you don't have enough confidence in the script, that could have been played by any character at all, and they just quickly went, get somebody in that people recognise. That, you know, and I didn't know who he was, but
I mean, I'm sure he probably thought, oh, well, I'm not in this very much. That's a shame. But it's a free holiday, you know, free trip to Valencia.
Absolutely.
Why not?
And I'm in Doctor Who. So.
I'm in Doctor Who, yeah. I think, as a second episode, I think it needed something with a bit more oomph behind it. I think that would have worked maybe a bit later on. I think the following episode, Thin Ice, I think that may have worked better as a second episode because it had a lot more going on.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it was okay.
Yeah. Thin Ice then.
Thin Ice. I liked it. I did like it, but I thought the villain was underdeveloped.
The bad guy.
The bad guy. Yeah. It was just like, I'm a baddie
because I'm racist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay. There was this like, there was nothing there. It made me sort of think back to, this could have been a character like Harrison Chase, you know. You could have had a good villain there. And I've said this before, I think, that I often find that the stories are as good as the baddies that you've got in them.
That's true.
I just think that in this particular case, the villain wasn't strong enough. There could have been a bit more with them. Stop faffing around, you know, giving pork pies to street urchins, you know. Have some scenes with the baddie.
But any excuse for the 12th Doctor to interact with kids is a good excuse.
That is true. I mean, it was nice seeing him, telling his horrible stories to the kids.
That was great.
It looked amazing. It looked really good.
It looked good. It was one of my favourites of the series.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I think it was just because maybe it was that kind of thing of, oh, this is on a roll. 3 episodes on the run, and it's pretty good at the moment. And I really enjoyed that one. It flew by, and I was there for the recording. Literally 5 minutes around the corner.
Yeah.
Pearl Mackie stood on my foot with these Victorian heels. That really hurt.
Yeah.
Still haven't happened. Oh no, she apologised to me on the day actually.
Did she?
Yeah, that was a lie. I was going to say she didn't apologise to breaking my feet, but she did. Yeah, that was. It was good. It was. I think that the monster as the kind of you know, poor thing. It's been done to death, especially the new series like the Space Whale and all that kind of stuff.
I think I saw Gareth Roberts tweet something like, "Oh, it's not like that story's not been told for like the 100th time."
But to be fair, you could say that about any.
You can, I guess.
Story. Like, there's not been an original Doctor Who story for quite a while, and even if there is, it's not necessarily always great. I mean, what do you think the last great original Doctor Who story was that isn't borrowed from anything
Heaven
before?
Sent.
Heaven Sent. Yeah, okay.
That is probably the genuine.
That's true.
That is a good story.
Yeah.
I wasn't so keen on it when I first watched it, but I rewatched it. I thought, this is absolutely brilliant.
I was going to say Blink. I can't say Heaven Sent because I know what's coming next.
Yeah, okay.
So...
Yeah. Another thing that I would say about Thin Ice, I love the fact that, obviously, the Doctor punched that guy in the face. I didn't like the fact that he sort of not apologised for it, but he sort of was like, "Oh, I've never done that before."
Yeah.
And it was like he shouldn't have apologised for
No.
it. He should have been proper, stern 12th Doctor in that moment.
He should have been the Series 8 12th Doctor.
Yeah.
But how many iterations of one character can you have across their lifetime?
It's hilarious, isn't it?
I saw a lot of people towards the end saying, wouldn't it be nice to have a multi-Doctor story with Series 8-12, Series 9-12 and Series 10? Yeah, that's what it was like.
It really is. It was this, and this is, I think this is the sad thing. I mean, I think we could just do a video about the 12th Doctor at some point.
Yeah.
But it's a shame that Capaldi's going, because this year it was like they'd finally gone, right, this is his character. We've got a little bit of Series 8, a little bit of Series 9.
There were seeds of that last year.
Yeah.
But I think it was just because maybe if there were float-over scripts in the previous series, that it just jarred. It jarred so much. It was so noticeable last series that it is that I don't think he worked as the Doctor at all for Series 9.
Yeah.
But Series 10, he was on form.
Yeah.
He was really good.
I think with Series 9 they tried to go so far the other way, like doing all the dopey stuff with like Dr. Funkenstein and the glasses and the guitar, and those things are fine in moderation, and I think that's what they did here. They were like, right, we've taken it too far. Let's tone that down a little bit. I just don't think he should have apologised.
I think he should have karate chopped him. Instead of going horror, he should have gone, hey! So Thin Ice.
Yeah, it was good.
Fun.
It was good.
Fun.
Yeah.
Then Knock Knock.
I liked it. Johnny liked it.
I felt a bit... That was like a 7th Doctor story as well.
It was a bit like a 7th Doctor story.
Maybe that's why Jonathan liked it.
Maybe.
I felt a bit let down by it because I was reading... what's his name? Mike Bennett's... Is that his name?
Yeah.
Mike Bennett?
Yeah.
I was reading his interview
Mike Bartlett.
Mike Bartlett, that was it. No, Mike Bennett was arrested with TNA.
He's now gone on to write for Doctor Who.
Yes. Wow. Well, you're diversifying yourself. That's fair enough. Since you got fired from TNA. I know you're in the WWE now. It's fine. Don't worry. Anyway, tangents. Stop, brain. Stop. So, I think I was reading his interview, Mike Bartlett's interview in Doctor Who magazine, and he came across like, hey, this dude knows he's a massive Doctor Who fan.
Yeah,
you could tell.
Oh yeah.
And it's not like people who come on board and say they're big Doctor Who fans and my favourite Doctor's the 4th Doctor, and I remember the Daleks hiding behind the sofa, and that's all their anecdotes out of the way.
Yeah.
He was naming.
You can play safe.
Yeah.
Saying that.
He was naming specific episodes
Yeah.
and specific moments. I think he was naming like production team members
Yeah,
and stuff.
yeah,
And
yeah.
it was like,
Yeah,
he's a big fan. And so I had high hopes for the episode because I thought, it's a great run of form so far. He's a Doctor Who fan, and David Suchet's in it. It seems like this is going to be great.
Yeah.
And I felt a little bit let down, but that's probably because that was the most excited I was for a debuting writer.
Right.
So yeah, it fell a bit flat for me, that one.
I can see what you mean. I mean, I enjoyed it. I thought it was going to be scarier than it was. Because everyone was sort of like, "Oh my god, this is a really scary one." And I watched it. I was like, "Well,
no,
not really."
We're doing a lot of 10th Doctor impressions in this video.
Am I? Oh, sorry.
We both are.
Well, so I didn't really think that so much. There were some good bits in it, like when that guy got frozen in the wood, like Han Solo in Carbonite.
They've got a thing. Star Wars. They've got a thing at the Doctor Who Experience now where you can put your head through it.
I saw that. That's really cool.
We've got to go to the experience before it closes.
Yeah, before it goes. So yeah, that was cool. I didn't like the fact that they all came back to life at the end.
Yeah.
Again, that felt like a very new
Even
series
if it was just
thing,
one that died.
Yeah,
like,
he should have died.
Yeah.
He was like that.
Or the kid on the stairs when he runs up the stairs.
Oh
and
yeah,
he gets his,
that was
that
amazing.
was really
That's
effective.
Really good.
That was really effective.
Yeah.
That bit, and it was a shame to see that great moment kind of like.
Yeah.
Because that only works on one viewing. I think that's something that you could say for a lot of new series who. Maybe that's the reason why you don't go back and watch it again.
Yeah.
Because those moments work really well when you first see them, and especially with Moffat, those that Clara's death works so well when you first see it, and it's like that works. That's good. That that in the context of the character that works, and then 2 episodes later you know it's going to get undone. So there's no point watching it again.
Yeah.
Because its novelty has worn off.
Yeah.
The second that it's undone,
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that really sort of comes back to what Moffat said for Bill her story at the end of the series, he sort of said something about, she got her happy ending because he said something like, "Oh, I don't think Doctor Who is that kind of show, where people should die and that kind of thing, or have horrible things happen to them."
Yeah.
And I sort of think, but it is though. Horrible things have been happening to people in Doctor Who.
I sometimes wonder if he even watches his own show.
I know.
Do you know what I mean?
It's weird.
So Oxygen was next.
Yeah, was it?
I think so, because it was that.
Yes, that's right. You're right. Episode 5. Oh god, yeah. Oxygen. Yeah, I liked that.
Preempting
I thought
your opinion on that.
Oxygen was great.
Yes.
I really enjoyed it. Thought it was a good story. I loved the bloated, horrible faces of the monsters. I was disappointed.
I wish they all had that, because it seemed like the only one that they.
Yeah.
Maybe they could only afford one.
Well, I think they had some more, but then the BBC saw it and was like, "It's too scary."
Oh, that's a shame. You shouldn't have done it at all then. Well, no, because then you would have not seen what they had.
Yeah.
That's a shame, because they couldn't have looked much worse than that.
No, I mean that was pretty horrible.
Yeah.
I was surprised. I was actually quite surprised by some of the horrible things that they had in this series. Like that was quite unpleasant.
Bill getting a hole in her.
That was horrible. There's the guy in.
Sorry.
There's that guy.
That's another T-shirt. That'd be a great T-shirt actually. The
hole,
wound. Oh shit.
The BBC will see it and be like, right, get on that. No, the guy from My Parents Are Aliens, like he melted into like a puddle.
That was him. I knew I recognised him from somewhere. He was walking around Glastonbury freaking people out.
Really?
He was walking around Glastonbury, probably on something, with like a plant, telling people, or it was something like that, or an empty yogurt pot or something weird, and he was telling people about it at their tents, and then wandering off.
Wow.
Good stuff.
There we go.
So that Doctor Who paycheck's clearly gone on his meth addiction. That's libelous.
Well, he looked.
Sorry.
I mean, I know
Allegedly.
He was meant to look drunk, wasn't he, in the episode? So maybe that's what they got him in. It's
possibly.
Like, he's shit faced already.
Maybe.
Just bring him.
Quick, he's coming down. Quick.
Oxygen was good. I really liked it. I loved the twist of the Doctor going blind.
Yeah.
I don't think it worked necessarily with the CGI effect. I think they should just put contact lenses in because at times
was that CGI?
Yeah, they CGI'd it in because in the trailer at Christmas.
They're not in.
Yeah, there's no eyes. And
that's so weird.
Yeah.
Peter must have complained about them being uncomfortable or something. Because
unless they thought if we add the eye thing in afterwards, if anything leaks beforehand, then people won't know the big twist. I don't think anyone really did know the big twist.
But for the extra effort, there were bigger twists that year they should have kept stum about. That was that was the least of their worries. That twist.
Yeah.
That seems like way too much of an effort for me.
That's what I thought. That's going to cost so much more money than just sticking some contact lenses in. And I think it works better with having contact lenses in because it actually does obscure the actor's vision.
To be fair though, I didn't notice they were CG. Okay. So that's fine.
I did.
And given the quality, and some VFX people out there I know have been commenting about it on Twitter, the quality of some of the lens flares on some object, or even just like there's that bit when Bill's watching the TV in the finale and it comes out of the TV and pans around and the image is like moving. It's like they've not like they've not anchored it to the TV.
I didn't notice that.
And there's a couple of bits. There's Nardole walking into the kitchen in that bit, and there's this massive, great, clearly fake lens flare coming in from the window that looks terrible.
Oh yeah.
And there was another one in that same episode where they've got the torch and Bill and Razor are going to the conversion chamber, and there's like this like J.J. Abrams style lens flare coming off and torch, and it's just like wandering away from the.
I mean, I did think like all of the green screen work in that penultimate episode, like when they're out on the streets, like it's like that city looks so fake.
It looks fake, but if you see what that part of Cardiff actually looks like, it's very impressive what they've done.
Oh yeah, I saw the comparison pictures on Twitter, and it was like,
I guess they tried to make it really polluted and cloudy to try and hide.
Make it more bleak than Cardiff actually is.
That you don't need to do much for that, especially. Yeah. Anyway, I'm not gonna. Because we don't want to walk into Cardiff and meet people in there and get
lynched.
Kicked.
No, I like Cardiff.
Yeah,
Oxygen was good. I liked it.
Yeah, no, it was good. I thought it was good fun.
However,
yes,
I don't understand. Oh no, it was a really weird cop out. That was another cop out ending as well. Like Bill got electrocuted.
Yeah.
And it turned out it was like, oh, don't worry. I saw that there wasn't enough battery in a power pack, so I knew it wasn't going to be a lethal dose. That was a weird Scottish accent.
That was not Peter Capaldi. It was like Rapsy Nesbitt.
That's right. That's for feeling. That's trying to get his back.
I think that is another, and it's weird to think. What, Jamie Matheson write that one? Yeah. Weird to think that it's like the Moffat Gaeticisms are bleeding into other people's things. Like, then show us that. Yeah. Because at least then we can go, oh yeah.
Because when I first watched it, I was like, but I don't understand.
Yeah.
Why isn't she dead? And I literally, when I rewatched it the second time, I was like, right, I got to listen to this.
Yeah.
What? Oh, okay. Bit of a cop out.
So maybe Doctor Who does have to work on second reviewings. You do have to go back and go, hang on a minute. Okay, yeah, Oxygen was good. What did you think of the comic I'm Still Blind reveal at the end?
Oh yeah.
I pissed myself when I first saw it.
It was a bit hammy. Yeah. You almost wanted like a Colin Baker style trial of a time, like zoom in. They should have just cut Colin Baker going.
Then it was the Monk 3-parter, wasn't it?
Yeah. Now I think if you go back to our series, I nearly said Series 8 preview, our Series 10 preview.
They're all the same.
I think.
Except we're slightly less angry in this one.
Yeah. I think you said that was the arc or the 3 episodes that you were looking forward to the most out of the series, and I thought
it
looked really great.
No hope for the finale.
Yeah.
No hope for the finale at all. With all they've got to do and all they've got to deal with, this is the cluster of episodes I'm most looking forward to.
And it was a cluster, right?
It was a cluster. It was so it started with Extremis.
Yeah.
Which was like, I could forgive the typical Moffat-y elements of it, which I feel like I'm going to say a lot in this video. I already have almost exhausted my Moffat-y isms. God knows he hasn't. He's still getting paid off of them. So I kind of feel like I could give that one a pass.
Yeah.
Because, it's the setup. Need to watch the rest of the episodes. But it did feel like this was the anchor point for the whole of the rest of the series. Not just the next 2 episodes, not just this one and the next ones to come. The whole of the series was going to be anchored around this central conceit, because there is absolutely no way that a villain as underdeveloped as the monks could not go on to become the Cybermen.
Yeah. Because
then it just makes the whole thing like, what's that all about?
Yeah.
It becomes just a wasted opportunity. So Extremis I could give a pass, but there were a couple of bits in it where I went, I'm enjoying it, and I did enjoy Extremis. I thought it was good as if you watch it in isolation, which you can't, unfortunately, because it's so linked to the other stories. Yeah. Again, the whole thing of the Doctor explaining something massive at the end, as if we're all meant to go, okay, yeah, sounds good to me, understand that completely, that wraps it up really nicely and coherently for me. It doesn't. Yeah. The whole thing in the Oval Office. And also the whole counting scene in CERN. Where they're like banging on the table or I think, or something like that. And it was like, and they're counting. And it was just like, I don't see how that played into anything besides the fact that it was a simulation. But there was a much less pretentious way to go about it than doing that whole shouty thing, because that never came back. That whole everyone saying stuff in unison for some random reason. That might have been a cool thing to incorporate in other episodes, but it just didn't happen.
I mean, I really enjoyed it. Mm-hmm. I really, really liked the episode. I loved the twist at the end, that it was all simulation. Yeah. I know some people were like, "Oh, well, that was cheated." I thought, well, it's not. I didn't think it. I thought it was a clever way of setting up a baddie without doing it like the normal linear way of doing it. So I did like that. I liked all the stuff with the Catholic Church. I was disappointed that that kind of Dan Brown-esque story didn't continue into the next 2 episodes, which were, each part was very different from the first part. On the whole, I really enjoyed it. Yeah. And I really liked the monks. I thought they looked great. The voice was really good. They got someone else, not Nick Briggs, to do the voice for a change, which was really refreshing.
Yeah, it was, actually.
And it was really good, really eerie.
There's a slight accent to it as
well. Yeah, there was that little accent. Cool. Yeah, and it's like the way it was modulated. It was really cool. So I really enjoyed that. Then we went on to Pyramid at the End of the World.
Yeah.
And I just thought this was 45 minutes of just nothing happening.
I felt like you could have done a two-parter out of it. Like, do the setup with the Catholic Church in the pre-credits or whatever.
Yeah.
And then zoom straight into Pyramid at the end of the world.
You could have done.
Obviously, having to explain all the simulation stuff.
Yeah.
But
actually, they didn't really need to do. You could have cut all the. Yeah, you could have cut all the simulation stuff.
And just had
all the pyramids turned up.
An invasion of the actual real world, which would have had more of an impact, because once you know, it's all going to be resolved at the end anyway, and they're in a simulation and all that kind of stuff. They're in the Matrix and blah blah blah. But then the point is that they exit the simulation at the end of Extremis.
Yeah.
And then they are in the real world for the next 2 episodes. But the thing about that is, everything becomes so cataclysmic at the end of Lie of the Land. You think, how on earth did the human race recover from
all this?
That?
Yeah.
That seemed that was like a finale.
Yeah.
And it was like midway through the series, when you've still got to return to Earth at some point at certain intervals. The Earth's had a lot worse done to it through Doctor Who, but to enslave the entire population like that, and that can't not be vaguely referenced in the future, because it was such a massive deal.
What was how did they explain that? Because there's that scene, isn't it, at the end, where the Doctor goes, "Oi, you, what's this?" And she's like, "I don't know, I thought they were making a film or something."
Yeah.
I was like, "What? Did they collectively forget?"
I think they did.
Is that how that works? Okay.
Because I thought they were going to do the whole human beings, they're so busy worrying about their own little problems that they don't see the world around them, and it's like, that's not...
Yeah, ain't gonna happen.
Rubbish.
Yeah.
But I think, from what I remember, I was quite pleasantly surprised they didn't do that.
Yeah.
They might have done that, I can't remember, because it was like, there's no chance I was going to go back and watch those episodes again.
No.
Lie of the Land, I thought was a decent ending to it.
Yeah.
I thought it was alright, but given the absolute nothing that happened in the previous story, I didn't feel invested in it at all. No. And I feel like if I was made to feel more invested in it, because I don't think it's a case of me just not getting it or just not enjoying it because I'm a grumpy arsehole. It was just like it didn't give me a reason to be invested in it.
I think, I guess we saw all these pictures of this, this apocalyptic, totalitarian world, like 1984. And we saw all the filming pictures and we were like, oh my god, this looks like a really good story.
Yeah.
And I think if you were going to do a 3-parter, you could have had 2 episodes set within that world, because, it all happened so quick.
It feels like but then that should have been a finale, because then you've invested all your time in this incredible world they've dreamt up, where people are subservient to these monks, and there's the truth police. That was a cool idea.
Yeah,
and then
it wasn't fleshed out enough.
No.
It was just like, oh, this is a thing, and that was it. And it was like, well, we could see more of that. We could get more examples of how horrible this is. Same with the Doctor being bad.
Which was dropped.
That would have been so good, because Capaldi plays horrible Doctor so well.
They should have done that for the 2 episodes.
Yeah. That could have been. It really could have been that if you were going to do it as a 3-parter, episode 2, Doctor's gone horrible.
Yeah.
It's Bill trying to sort things out, trying to get to him. Then you have the end scene where she shoots him.
Yeah.
That's your cliffhanger. It makes sense.
Yeah.
Obviously, we didn't get that. We got 5 minutes of the Doctor being bad, and I'll shoot you. I'll start regenerating. And then be like, oh no, it's fine, don't worry.
Now that if you remember from our preview video, that was the moment I blanked out the audio.
Yeah.
Because I thought that's such a good idea from what the rumour was, that I didn't want to spoil it.
No.
Because it seemed like, this is cool, it's going to lead up to more stuff in the future. What the rumour was that Bill legitimately shot him with a real bullet, and he starts regenerating halfway through the series and fights it off until the end or the Christmas special, which is a great idea. He kind of is doing that now, but we'll get onto that, because I have an issue with that.
Okay,
but we'll get onto it later.
I just hated the fact that we had all this regeneration energy. Bill doesn't react to it at all. She doesn't go, whoa, hold on a minute, what was all that? Because she doesn't know what regeneration is. It's not explained to her.
She's asked about it. She asks him about it.
Yeah.
Earlier in the series.
Oh, does she?
And he kind of goes, well.
Oh yes,
blah, blah.
yeah.
And then he kind of
he does. Is in Knock Knock, isn't it? In the TARDIS. So that had no point to be in the story other than to be trailer bait.
Yeah.
It was just so baiting, just like, oh, people know he's going, so they're going to tune in because they're going to think, well, it's halfway through the series. Are we going to see the new
get that
Doctor?
as a hook, but the cop-out was so...
It was so bad.
Such a spit in the face after, like...
Yeah.
It was like...
And what really it grinds my gears on a couple of levels. One level, it was acted so well up until that point. Like, Pearl Mackie was brilliant. She's such a good actress. You know, she's so good.
She's the MVP of this series.
She's absolutely brilliant. Quite easily my favourite modern companion.
Yeah.
And obviously my favourite modern Doctor. So, you know, this has turned out to be like the best TARDIS team for the 21st century, in my opinion. Ever. So having that really good dramatic moment, for it then all just to go, oh no, it's just we're just pulling your leg, you know, and she should have been so angry.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
That should have affected their relationship for the rest of the series. Like, how can I trust you?
Yeah.
Or whatever.
You know, you lied to me about being blind.
Yeah.
You know, you've done this. Like, how can I trust
like
you?
the way that Clara treated the 12th Doctor.
Yeah.
Or that their issue with lying to each other. That would have been...
It would have been so nice as if, like, they got to episode 11, they're just starting to find, you know, they're starting to trust each other again.
Yeah.
And then that happens to Bill.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, you know, that just is more
That would
insult
have been
to injury,
excellent.
you know?
It seems like the threads are there for it to have been... Like, it was great. It was a great series. And it seems like the threads were there just for those little nuances and just for those little hooks to be carried through the series. It doesn't... I think the idea of a series arc can be something as massive as Saxon or Bad Wolf or whatever.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's just those little things where, like you said, you know, there's a part during the series where they completely fall out.
Yeah.
They've got to work towards being best friends and working together at the end of the series, and then something like that happens.
Yeah.
And it's not a massive deal. It's not like we're not friends because of the Bad Wolf. It's just relationships, and that would have been really cool to see.
It baffles me because you sort of think, you know, there's this big team of professionals, and like, does no one sit down and go, yeah, this is good, but
what if we did?
Wouldn't we do this? Because that makes a lot more sense. This isn't me like trying to say that I'm cleverer than the people working on it, but
because we're saying this in hindsight. We're saying this watching the series as a whole, and not being in those meetings and whatever.
You know, it's not like I can turn around and go, oh, I'm going to come up with a bloody story arc where this happens and that happens, you know? It's, like I said, it's hindsight. Hindsight's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And the other issue I have with that thing is regeneration has just it's not a big deal anymore.
It cheapens it for the end of the series because it's like a gimmick, and it's like, oh look, he's glowing gold again. And for like because fans who are whatever about the show, well, not fans, but viewers who kind of watch it, it's like, oh shit, he's going to regenerate. That's like a big regeneration is a massive deal.
Yeah.
And I think for the new series, his hand glows gold once a year.
Yeah.
And it's like it doesn't have the same effect or grandeur or anything like that.
No.
And it's going to take a long time, I think, for that to come back because it's been bastardized so much.
I mean, you look back at the Rusty Davies era. You know, Eccleston regenerates, huge deal.
Yeah.
When Tennant
after 1 year.
After 1 year, yeah. Tennant then starts to regenerate at the end of Stolen Earth, and alright, it gets diverted, but that's the first time anything like that has ever happened, and it was a great cliffhanger because everyone did think, Christ, is he going to regenerate? You know, and then obviously he changes, so that's fine. Then Smith comes along, Series 6. He starts regenerating in the first episode. That's it. Right. Fair enough.
Fuck, I forgot about that. Yeah.
And then you get like River Song, like Melody as a little girl. She regenerates. You get River Song in Let's Kill Hitler. She gives her all the regenerations to the Doctor. Yeah. And then you get
in The Angels Take Manhattan.
Angels Take Manhattan. Oh, I'm going to use some regeneration energy to heal your bad hand.
Yeah.
Then we skip forward to
the sneeze regeneration. Finally.
You got the sneeze regeneration. Yeah. You know, he has that huge, massive one, and then you know he sneezes. And then again in Series 9 with Davros, he's like, "Oh, I'm going to give you a bit of regeneration energy just to jumpstart your systems, or whatever. You know, or I might go blind in a few years' time or something."
It I guess cheapens the whole idea of regeneration. Like, regeneration isn't the main hook of the program.
No.
But it's what keeps it going, and to keep bringing it up as like trailer bait.
Yeah.
devalues it when it eventually happens. And I think that and we'll get onto it when we talk about the finale. Capaldi's regeneration at the end of the Doctor Falls was so perfect. That should have been the moment he actually regenerated.
Yeah.
And he should have stepped out onto the wastes of, Antarctica, and that should have been it. Back, and he's regenerated. Or he should have regenerated on his back on the floor of the TARDIS.
Yeah.
That would have been great, and that would have been really nice. Yeah. But it didn't happen, and it was less annoying as a fake out that time round. But I have not a bigger issue, but I do have my own issue with that as a whole. But we'll get onto that when we talk about that. But
I mean, it's like regeneration has become his superpower.
It's a gimmick.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's not.
Because he can do it willy nilly. What was the point of the regeneration energy in that story? Like, has he now lost a regeneration? You know, like when he gives it to River Song, he's like, oh, I might go.
Even that's treated like a big deal.
Yeah.
Oh, he uses regeneration energy to see earlier in the season. He takes eyesight away from like a future incarnation.
Yeah. It's really weird.
It's like a sonic screwdriver.
Yeah.
It's just like a get out of jail free card. As opposed to him using actual methods.
Using his brains. And I was chatting to a friend of mine the other day, and he said,
"You've got other friends that like Doctor Who?"
Yeah. And he said to me, he said the same thing. He said, the Doctor shouldn't be a superhero. He said, I don't want the Doctor to be a superhero. The Doctor for me is a scientist.
Yeah.
He said, we don't get that anymore. The Doctor isn't a scientist. It doesn't seem like a scientist anymore.
No.
Like, he doesn't really seem to sort of use his brain in the same way. Like, even in the finale, he's blown up Cybermen, like left, right, and centre.
Yeah.
Which is okay. This is fine. But sometimes you sort of think, well, you go on about, oh, I'm the cleverest man in the room. Well, actually show us that.
Yeah.
Actually show us using your brain. And not
he's done it more lately with the chalkboard thing and the Sharpie inside the screwdriver thing. Like,
oh god, yeah. I saw that and I was like, where's character options going?
Well,
we're gonna have to get a pen.
They came up with that
with the
before.
series.
So really, characters should be suing them, if anything.
You stole our idea. Yeah, so that's my 2 pennyworth on regeneration.
Okay, that was just the 3-parter midway through the series. We've still got another like 3 or 4 episodes to go. Empress of Mars.
Loved it. Thought it was brilliant.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Eaters of Light.
No, I really did, and something really made me laugh. I'm gonna get bollocked for this. I saw a lot of new fans.
And when you mean new fans, you mean.
Well, it was like all the responses. I was like, a bit boring. It's like, oh dear. But it made me laugh because it really felt like you had these modern fans who were like, that was boring, and yet to me, I was like, that was Doctor Who
distilled.
Yeah. There's Doctor Who in a nutshell. If you do not like that, then you clearly don't like Doctor Who.
Even the batshit crazy thing of like, I thought it was a stupid, again, gimmick.
Yeah.
Of the Victorians on Mars, I thought. It's like, what? Why? Why can't it just be some space? Troop?
Yeah.
Or like the spearhead for the delegates arriving from the Galactic Federation, and they don't know who they are yet because time's all fucked up. Because there was a thing, wasn't there a thing in that where they were confused exactly what year it was? Because Friday, fuck that name by the way. Friday's I know you had an explanation for it, but his name should be Car, or like whatever. Where he has to have 2
I don't know why
of
he
the
never
same
said it.
letter.
He should have said his name, shouldn't he? He should have told to the Doctor, by the way, my name's not Friday.
Yeah.
It's Dave.
But because it's an ice warrior, it'd have to be DAVV.
Yeah.
That almost felt like trailer bait.
Yeah.
The Victorians on Mars. But that almost felt like, just for the sake of it looking a bit different and being a bit off the wall and a bit, that was it. And also for an excuse for Stephen Mark Gates, same person as far as I'm concerned in some of their writing styles. Oh fuck, they're doing that Dracula show as well. Oh
god, I know. I thought that. I was like, oh really?
They'll make Dracula young and sexy and right now.
Yeah. Hipster.
Absolutely.
He'll vape.
He'll vape blood.
He'll have a top knot.
Oh god, they might actually vape blood. That makes sense though, to like control his cravings if he's trying to operate in. If that goes in
Yeah, we know.
Oh shit! Then we'll know. So, like I was saying, an excuse for Mark Gatiss to do his I can speak Victoriana and I've got all this great dialogue and I'm like Bob Holmes and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it was fine when the episode went out, but like I get the allusions at the end to serving Queen Victoria and serving Atraxa.
Yeah, Atraxa.
I get that. That was cool, but you know, like when before I watched it, it felt like doesn't need to be this way.
I mean, I'll be honest. I really liked it.
Yeah, I really liked it as well. I just think that was probably my favourite episode of the series.
Yeah.
The exception of the finale, but the finale's like its own thing.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those things that I can see what you mean. I can see where you're coming from about. Like, it felt like it was a bit gimmicky, and I think actually going into it, I was worried it was going to be a bit like that. But I thought, like within the context of the story, it worked okay, and I think the visuals of them on Mars fighting Ice Warriors so bloody cool.
Yeah.
I really liked it. I really loved the way that when Ice Warriors kill people, their bodies crumple up.
Yeah, because when I saw the trailer, it was like, oh, they're doing the warbly effect.
Yeah.
But it didn't show the crumple at the end.
Yeah.
And I thought, that's really cool. But then, of course, we've got to talk about at the end of the story.
Oh, that was such a surprise.
They're back.
They're back, yeah. So Alpha Centauri turning up. That was so amazing, and like hearing the voice was like.
It's like they wrote that story for us.
Yeah, it was like a real sort of. If you like old Doctor Who, this is for you. The fact that they got the same actress, Yazan Churchman.
Unbelievable.
She's like 92 now.
I know.
They must have like wheeled her in and gone, can you just do this?
Unbelievable.
Do this line for us. Bless her.
Pumping air into her lungs so she can speak each line.
Yeah. Amazing! It's just so good.
When she first started speaking, I thought, oh, that's Alpha Centauri, and my mind exploded. It was, you know those fans, fuckboy fans, who do the whole like mind blown squee, all that kind of stuff. That
actually
that's
happened.
the only time I've done it in the series where I've gone, yes, that's actually. And then when you find out it was her at the end of the story,
that was just like even better. Like Clayton Hickman posted an interesting tweet afterwards, which is like, this is her credit in the old series, and here it is
Voice
in the
of
new
Alpha Centauri, Yazan Churchman, and then he did a really cool thing where he went through everything, credit was the same.
My one gripe with that, this is me just being a dick.
Oh, yeah.
But
that's like the one thing that made us so happy this series. No, actually no, the whole series was great, but that was like
one of the best
things. The best thing to happen on that show for 5 years. This is what people think of us. When they watch a video, they just complain about everything. They don't like anything.
No, I loved it. But what amazed me was like, how does Alpha Centauri look shitter in this series than she did in 1974 or whatever it was?
No, I saw that apparently her head doesn't exist anymore.
It does though.
But that's the thing. It must have been so battered. They just went, we can't put that out.
It's in pretty good nick, but I imagine that like if they do anything with it, it would probably just disintegrate to dust.
Yeah.
Like that Ice Warrior head that they found the other day. You know? So but I was just amazed. I watched it, I was like, oh yeah, you look really.
Yeah, it's because her eye was the same size as her head.
Yeah.
I think because it was like round instead of like that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like.
Have we found something to complain about?
Sorry, but it just like, oh, you know, this is like probably the easiest thing you'll ever render in CGI.
A dot in a bigger dot.
Yeah. It's like, how did you make it look slightly less convincing than Stuart Fell in a rubber head
prancing around?
Eaters
of Light.
Or as I text my brother, what did you think of the Eaters of Shite?
You used that on me as well.
Did I?
I don't feel special anymore.
Oh, sorry. Maybe it was you. Maybe it wasn't. No, I think I did use it on Dolphin as well. I think I was just so proud of it.
Unbelievable.
To send it to everyone. It's not a funny joke at all. I was really looking forward to this story.
I wasn't even looking forward to it that much. Just like.
Well, you're not. I was just like, it was Rona Munro, Survival was such a good story.
But
it was so groundbreaking. And then, like, this wasn't. This was just like, more Lost Boys in a cave.
Survival's great and all, but I like that whole series is good.
That is a very good
series. So I wouldn't attribute the success of how people feel about Survival specifically to Rona Munro. Because it's not like I haven't seen any of her other work. Yeah. I don't know if that is typical of the stamp that she leaves on other stuff she does. But it didn't feel too individualised from the rest of the series when it carried so many of the same themes forward. Obviously, it's big deal. Hello, birds. Big deal. There's a crow. Ah!
Oh God! Remember all that crap?
It was a magpie as well, so no, that was, they didn't know that. I just ruined the joke. Obviously, Survival is a big episode because it was the last of the original run, and like, okay, cool. Survival, I wouldn't hire Rona Munro back to write a story just because I like Survival.
No, I mean obviously they did it because she's got all these awards for being an amazing playwright. I mean, you know,
I want 20 minutes free.
Not this one. You know, and she's obviously a big fan. You know, reading the interviews with her, she was so pleased to come back.
Same with Mike Bartlett. Yeah.
Yeah, it was really, and it was nice. It was nice to see that. Yeah, I mean, if you said to when they said we've got a classic series Doctor Who writer coming back, I'll be honest, she didn't even.
She
enter
was
my,
one of the last. Names
yeah, well, she didn't even enter my head. I thought. Yeah. I mean, I thought Andrew Cartmel or Ben Aronovich above that. You know, Bob Baker, because you know he won a BAFTA for Wallace and Gromit not long ago. So you know, but I guess he's doing terrible K9 films that we can.
Oh, we've got to review. We've got to do the whole of the K9 series.
We can't do the whole series.
Yeah.
Really. I would sooner shoot myself.
All right, we'll do the opening episode.
We'll do the first episode. I didn't watch it and think that was bad or that was terrible. It was just like.
If it was earlier in the series,
I think it
maybe
probably would have
could
been.
have suited it a bit better.
It was, and it's never going to stand up because it is between arguably two of the best episodes of the season.
Yeah.
You know, you've got Ice Warriors on one side, Cybermen from the 10th Planet on the other, and Two Masters. You know, some angry Scottish kids with like a CGI lizard isn't really gonna cut it, I'm afraid.
Monster was terrible. It was like an amalgamation of like all the most forgettable new series monsters.
Yeah, and I watched it and I was like, wait, I don't get this. It eats light, but light hurts it, and it was only until I rewatched it was like, oh no, these things like it pollutes the light, so it like hurts it. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And I still don't understand how, you know, they made such a big deal, like this lizard slaughtered the Ninth Legion.
Yeah.
And then they came along with their little lollipops.
And it was like, ah!
Yeah, and it was like, well, that was very easy to kill.
Yeah.
And then they were like, oh, you know, I didn't really get the whole thing about...
It was the massive sacrifice at the end, when it's characters that are like,
yeah,
kill yourself.
Yeah,
don't care.
I can tell you my favourite bit from that episode, right?
Uh-huh.
It was when the Doctor got the bag of popcorn and threw it on the fire to cause a distraction, and they ran away. And I was like, that's very Doctor-y. Yeah, that's proper Doctor Who, that is.
Yeah.
So fair play.
Yeah,
I liked that.
Definitely.
Well done.
So then we move on to the finale.
There you are, Rona, for your entire your complete theatrical career. Know that throwing popcorn on the fire
was the best thing you ever done. Bloody hell.
Since Survival.
Right.
Yeah.
The finale.
Cool. World Enough and Time.
World Enough and Time was really good.
Yeah.
Really, really good.
Yeah. Nothing really happened in the middle, but it was it was like a good build up.
Yeah, it was a great.
It was suspense.
Great opening.
Yeah.
Great opening. Obviously, well, let's not talk about the regeneration stuff now because obviously that was the pre-credits, which I predicted.
Oh, did you say?
10 minutes before the episode went out, and I keep getting notifications, people retweeting it and sharing it and stuff. It's like he knew what. It was pretty clear that you know they had to hook you in some way. Yeah. So
I'll be honest. I guessed that Cyberman was Bill from the publicity images of the Doctor like touching the chest. I was like, that's going to end up being Bill. And then when they leaked one of like the Masters stood with them, like gloating, I was like, John Sim has got like a real shit face.
Grin,
yeah, you know. And it's like that's clearly what it is.
Yeah, I suppose. I didn't clock it.
You didn't clock it up.
I'm dumb. So, anyway.
Yeah.
That's Doctor Who's written for me. Clearly. Yeah. So it had a great opening. And I kind of feel like if the regeneration wasn't the pre-credits, Bill being shot would have been a great pre-credit sequence.
Come on, yeah.
The Stephen Hawking Cybermen.
Yeah.
With their box.
Yeah.
That was so cool.
That was really cool.
I kind of think that like they look so frail and weak. It doesn't run that the blue dude is terrified of them. Because we haven't seen what they're capable of doing. I don't believe that thing's gonna shamble in, and then go, "Rah!" and then carry on being like that. You know, I don't.
Yeah, as it clutches onto its IV drip. Yeah.
I don't buy that.
Yeah.
But.
And I loved the volume thing. Like,
that was really horrible.
Oh my god!
That was horrible.
It was hilarious. My dad, he'd just been in hospital like the week before.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm so glad you're not in hospital for this week, Dad, because he watched Eaters of Light while he was in hospital. And I was like,
oh god, must have made him feel worse.
I was like, he said I fell asleep. Like, no, I don't blame you. It's like even I wasn't on drugs, Dad, and I fell asleep.
So what they did was they took his morphine away and sat him in front of Eaters of Light. Try that. NHS could save so much money.
So, you know, you've had your kidney out, well, this will make you feel better. This will get you out of bed. I was like, you're not going to want to watch this one when you're in hospital. And you did watch it afterwards.
Yeah.
But, that was great. It was just so chilling. There were so many chilling moments.
It was that and it comes to Bill's eventual fate at the end of end of part one. It was so horrible.
Yeah.
Like, it was oppressive and nasty and eerie, and not even like, you didn't need to have body horror in it for it to be nasty.
Yeah.
The score for it, Murray Gold's score for it
was really good.
Was excellent.
Yeah.
The ethereal opera woman.
Yeah, warbling.
Very reminiscent of the Puccini scene from the Seventh Doctor's Generation from the TV movie.
Yeah.
And that has always scarred me in terms of going to hospital. That whole segment where McGann's walking down the corridor, that always freaked me out, with the baby crying in the background, always freaked me out. So that whole sequence was excellent.
Yeah.
And I thought it was, bloody hell, that's quite far, when Bill had a chest unit.
I
thought, shit, they've gone that far with it. Oh, I mean, they made the Doctor blind for a couple of episodes early in the season, fair enough. And then, as the episode wears on, from the moment that she's in the operating theatre, and you have that whole pain scene, which I will put on record as probably one of my favourite scenes in the entire history of Doctor Who.
It was really cool.
Kill me, pain.
Yeah.
It's fucking rough shit.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just like horrible.
Yeah.
Really nasty.
Yeah.
And
it would have been great if if she'd have met a character that you became, that you really liked.
Yeah.
And then they ended up, they got taken away, and then she found them, and then it was that kill me, kill. My God, that would have just been.
That'd have been horrible. Or, hang on, turn up my thing. Fuck off. Fuck off. I think it was so expertly done, that scene. And when you know they're going to become Cybermen, which kind of hurts, because if they hadn't released,
my God, can you imagine that?
But then, to be honest, I would have guessed it was the Cybermen from the minute they said, where have all these things come from? And they're coming up. I was like, there is a big baddie about to step out from those. And it almost feels like none of the stuff that was the big reveal was supposed to actually be released. And I think they got a bit worried, going, we need a hook. We need to tell Molesting Cybermen about. We need to leak that now to get people to know. And the same with the Master. I still think that they didn't think that would leak. I still
Sin. No, I didn't. Yeah.
The way that clad in makeup, obviously you can tell Anthony Aileen's going to be in it. You can tell. Anthony Aileen. Balum. It's clearly it. When he pulls the mask off, and they push into his face, it was like, that was supposed to be the first moment we knew it was Sim. And
that would have been so good.
Yeah. Like, that would have been one of the biggest moments in the history of the new series of Doctor Who. I think,
if they could have, like you said, if they could have kept the Cybermen secret and that, because you'd have been going through it like, well, this is all a bit strange. Like the cloth faces, you'd be like, that's like old Cybermen. They're not doing old Cybermen. Yeah. They're doing old Cybermen. Yeah. And then for John Sim to be like, hello, I'm in it. You'd be like,
I'm worried they thought people might have heart attacks.
Oh yeah.
The way they have to the way they have to test stuff if it's going to be it's going to cause epileptic seizures. Do you think they put a Doctor Who fan down in front of the script and he had a stroke and he was just like, we got to put a warning out now.
Oh it's a shame. It is such a shame. I mean, and to be honest, did it help the viewing figures? No, it didn't.
Which is really depressing.
Really depressing, yeah.
Because so many people I know have gone, I don't watch Doctor Who anymore because X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
And if I was going to refer to any fan who didn't like the show after Tennant left, which is invariably what the answer is, I'd tell him to watch the entire series. There's one or two bum notes.
Yeah. But that's with every series. You always get a bum note with it. No season is perfect.
Season 7.
That is pretty good. And I think season 13 is pretty solid as well. Yeah. And season 26.
Yeah. 3 seasons are perfect.
There's probably more. There's some more Pertwee in there as well. There must be some.
Yeah, no, but for every day of the oh no, that's not great.
you do get some really like bloody laborious 6 or 7
even like
parts.
Planet of Spiders. Planet of Spiders is a bit.
Yeah, it can get a bit. Okay. All right, fair enough. Well, we've got three good seasons where there's just not no shit episodes. Anyway, yeah, World Enough Time was friggin' great. You know. I don't know where Razor was supposed to come from. I think in the script it's like a Mid-Eastern European accent. Like, oh, hello. I will talk like this. I don't know where I'm from.
And I think the Master had to really practice to get that accent down to win her trust. And the most trusting, calm accent, butter wouldn't melt in his mouth. Yeah. Hello! Hello there!
I think that was like the most brilliant mastery thing as well. 10 years. He did that for 10 years. And like that's that bit. He says it in the next episode when he's like, 10 years I had to sit through this, but it was worth it just for this. Yeah. And you're like, you're a shit.
Horrible.
That is the Master through and through.
Anything more to talk about part 1 before we go on to part 2?
Only that I really liked the bit where they were like, you still feel pain, but you won't care about it because we've got this. And it's like when they flipped it around, it was like the handles. I was like, that's such a great idea. So I really like the idea that the Cybermen, they're still in agony. Yeah. But it's just that the brain is just switched off.
It's just that idea that now when you look at Cyberman, that's what you think. That's what Doctor Who should do in terms of retconning or going back and changing stuff or adding. It should add things. Yeah. It shouldn't be like Clara instilled the Doctor's principles in the first Doctor when he was a kid, and it's all because of her. Yeah. It should be stuff like that.
Just like little things.
Where it just makes you look at things in a like
different angle.
Shit.
That's more horrible.
Yeah, because now when you see David Banks step onto the bridge, he's going, ow, ow, and then he has to like compose himself and go, so we meet again. Doctor,
my one criticism. Why the hell did they give him stompy feet?
Yeah, the way I didn't like the way they walked. No, but you said you were alright with it. But then I was watching I actually watched 10th Planet in the week between parts 1 and 2, and they just kind of like walk like they're trying to find their way around a train station. Like they just kind of
didn't they? They are a bit like
It is a bit odd, but and then they the way they walk like the shit themselves because they're kind of like
I like it when they run away. When they run away and they're getting killed, they're like, oh shit! But we can't run too fast because our costumes will fall to pieces.
Oh, those are the news. Those are the Cybersmen. Those were.
Oh my god!
We'll get onto that in a minute. We'll get onto that in a minute. So, part 2.
Yeah.
Doctor Falls.
So. I'm going to be honest. I mean, I loved it. I thought it was a great best finale from Stephen Moffat since Big Bang. Whatever that Paradork opens. I think this could have been a 3-parter because I think in between what we had, there could have been a nice little Cyberman story. Yeah. And you sort of got that Cyberman story distilled in about 2 lines. Yeah. When it was like, oh, they're converting everybody. It's a Cyberman factory. Oh no, now I just pressed some buttons and now they're coming after us. And it's like, oh, okay.
That was the most coherent, that kind of show don't tell, haven't shown anything, telling you everything thing that they do, where you see him fall on the panel. Yeah. But you don't see the next 3 seconds of footage they include in the next part where he goes.
Like neither of them noticed. No. I really loved that bit. I really loved the fact that they just like beat the shit out of him.
Yeah, it was horrible. It was really nasty. The whole drowning. Yeah. You drowned yet? Yeah. How would we shoot? Oh, it's it's good. It's old-fashioned.
There was a nice line that I didn't catch the first time. It was only until I saw someone retweet it, where Missy says, "I know you've fallen," and that's Legopoulos, isn't it? Yeah. And I was like, oh.
That's true.
Yeah, I know you've fallen.
There's a line. Wasn't there a line in one of those episodes about we had a sword fight once? That was quite fun. That was cool. I think that might be a bit later on. Like
that was in the monk episode. That was in the last part of that. Yeah, I could have seen something. Yeah, I mean I think there was a Cyberman story there that we could have had. Mm-hmm. I think this is the trouble with all of the Cyberman stories from the new series. Is whenever Stephen Moffat has used them in other stories, like Death in Heaven, like it was like they were there, but the Cyberman story didn't happen.
No.
You know, it quickly became this is all about Missy and the Doctor.
But it was nice. It kind of retained that.
Yeah,
like there were elements of their relationship all the way through.
Yeah, this one was better in the way that they used the Cybermen because. I mean, in Death in Heaven, they don't kill anybody.
No.
They don't do anything. No. They just come out of St. Paul's, stand around, people take selfies with them, and it's like, that's it, really?
Dear.
And then that's that is it. But at least in this one, you sort of saw them marching around. They were taking people away to get turned into Cybermen. You know, they didn't kill anybody again because Doctor Who's this optimistic program where things like that just don't happen. But
he really doesn't watch his own show, does he?
Did you? I didn't catch the bit when I first watched it where John Sims putting his guy liner on.
Yeah.
I didn't see it the first time.
We had a bit of a stroke of the goatee.
Yes, and he did it at the right time when he said the old classics stroke, and then I read the interview and he was like, "I did that on purpose." Like,
and we had a proper. When he goes in the lift.
Yeah.
Oh, that was good.
It was great.
Let's talk. We're going to talk about Missy's arc.
Yeah.
That whole scene, them both killing each other.
That was great.
Was so perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was brilliant.
When he's
of course they not only do they want to bang each other, they want to kill each other as well.
Yeah. I like the fact that the Master sort of said that, like, no, this is what we've been leading towards, not standing with the Doctor. Yeah. Because I throughout the whole thing, like the whole series, this whole redemption thing for Missy, I was just like, but why?
Yeah.
Where has this come from? And why is the Doctor suddenly like, oh, this is all, I can understand the Doctor sort of saying stuff like, oh, this is all I've ever wanted, because they were friends, and I get it.
That was nice, that whole bit.
I do kind of think that, but in Survival, Sylvester McCoy was going to crack your head open with the skull of a cheetah person, like... I do think in that moment he's like, oh, what I ever wanted was for us to be friends, but instead I'm just going to smash a bloody face in, So I can see it on one hand. It's a difficult one. We really do look like we should be roasting marshmallows.
I wish we had some.
Oh. Yeah. Did you like? Because I just like throughout the whole thing I thought, oh, this is going to backfire because she's obviously being bad, and it was like, well, we knew you thought that was going to happen, so we actually did.
I knew she was going to turn her back on the Master, on herself.
That was quite obvious.
I like it because it's not like the Master has changed for good.
No.
It's like that pocket of the Master's story in the 12th Doctor's era. They're obviously Michelle Gomez. Not because I don't really like her. I don't really like Missy. There is no way that you could carry off her working alongside another Doctor, running the same story of redemption or whatever. That's it. That's Missy's chapter closed and gone, and that's great.
Yeah.
They've developed that relationship. They have developed that relationship across 3 years, and no matter what we've thought of Missy, they've done that pretty well. Yeah, I think.
I think that it works like for this one incarnation. I guess for this one incarnation, perhaps she thought, no, I have sort of maybe I can. I loved seeing Cybermen get blown up, like the 10th Planet Cybermen, like when because they sort of exploded and then they were just led on the floor on fire.
Yeah,
and it's like,
and it burst at the back.
Yeah, and it's like it felt like old Cybermen. Yeah. It felt quite classic. And I was like, that's great. That's a Cyberman burning alive.
I'm amazed how much those actors can do in the Nightmare and Silver suits.
Yeah.
Like the way and then they're splayed on the ground.
Yeah.
Amazing.
But we must talk about the Cybersmen that looked like they just walked out of a charity shop. They looked awful.
It was the way they walked.
One of them, there was one in particular who just walked like. And I think someone posted it on Twitter. It might have been Christopher Thompson. Who said something like, "Oh, just going down to the shops, going down the pub for a pint." And he was just like.
It was very odd.
It was really strange.
Dad's just dropped a cup on his foot.
Oh no! it just goes to show that, like, it's weird. Like in 2006, those Cybermen, they look like metal. They look like hardy.
I think it's they've just been in storage and they've just gone, get it, quick, get it out, shove it in the van.
My first thought was like, this is what happens when you make a costume and then every other ancillary thing.
Yeah.
Oh, we've got a concert coming out. We like some of those Cybermen suits.
It's those Cybermen.
Oh, EastEnders are doing a weird Doctor Who thing. We like those Cybermen suits. Oh, one needs to appear on the one show to kill Matt from Bloody Blue Peter. Get the Cyberman suit.
Yeah.
And it's just like, yeah, but that's really taken its toll on those suits.
I think that it doesn't, especially alongside the Nightmare in Silver ones.
Yeah.
And even against the 10th Planet ones, who were designed for HT.
It's hilarious. Yeah, but that's it. They're not designed for...
The 10th Planet ones look
better. Yeah. And I so many people I've seen were like, oh, these 10th Planet ones look a lot better than like any of the other Cybermen.
Yeah.
You know, the other ones are just too Iron Man.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
I think that then maybe they realise that now. Maybe they'll go. Let's go back.
Let's go. Yeah.
Because they work so well.
Humanise them.
Yeah. So the planet's decimated. The floor. That floor is decimated.
Yeah.
Nardol's on another floor. He's doing his own thing. Nice little scene to say goodbye to Nardol.
Yeah.
That was quite nice.
I like that he just had an old school companion thing. Just like he's just going off.
Wondering. Yeah.
And it's sad because he thinks that Doctor and Bill have died. You know.
Yeah.
For all intents and purposes. But he's gone off. He's done his own thing. You know. The end. And he probably gets killed by Cybermen.
Probably.
In like a few years time.
But there is room to bring him back, and I wouldn't be upset.
No, I wouldn't be
to see him
opposed.
back. I thought it'd be great.
Yeah.
But let's talk about Bill leaving.
And Heather, yeah.
Because as much as I praised it online when I was talking about it on Twitter, I got people going, it was great, but did you actually like the ending as well?
Yeah. It's a funny one. Like, I felt less opposed to it happening with Bill than I did with Clara. Because I think with Clara, she
didn't give a shit about her.
Clara had so many goodbyes by that
Yeah.
point. You know, she had her end of Series 8 goodbye.
It's like Regeneration.
Yeah. She then had her what was meant to be a like proper final goodbye in Last Christmas, and then they were like, oh, actually no, we're going to say that this is another dream, and actually she's young and blah blah blah. I still think that Clara should have left as an old lady.
Yeah.
I think the Doctor and her should have just sat by the fire.
Yeah.
And they could have had that last moment. That would have been lovely.
And then Face the Raven.
Face the Raven. She should have died, and that should have been it.
Yeah.
And no, they brought her back again.
Yeah.
So, and that was really infuriating.
And then, in this year's Christmas
yeah,
special,
I'm sure she's going to turn up as a
I don't want her
hallucination.
to. I don't want her to, because I want Capaldi's companion. I think he'd be like, Clara, get out of here.
Yeah.
Bill means far more to him than you do, and like they actually like each other. They're not constantly butting heads with each other.
Yeah. So I felt less. I didn't mind it as much. I'm loving that this does look like we're out. We're actually on location in Cardiff. They're filming Doctor Who over there. They've
Just
got
over
the Peter Bukaki altered box over there next to. No, the William Hartnell.
There's Dave Bradley.
Yeah,
Oh, mate.
all right. Yeah, he's going like that with his lapels. He's got leather gloves on, which William Hartnell never wore.
Why didn't he come and? Oh, he's nervous. No, sure.
But I mean, did you mind? Did you mind that she got?
No, I didn't mind. I didn't mind that
Heather
came back. Again, like we said at the start, it was a bit like okay.
Yeah.
I guess that they meant something to each other.
Yeah.
But equally, I feel like Bill's date in Extremis, they had more chemistry together.
Than her and Heather, yeah.
Because they were actually having a chat.
Yeah.
As opposed to Heather being, all this kind of like mysterious
she was just pretty.
girl.
She was a pretty girl.
Yeah, with
nice
a
hair.
star in her eye, and it's like there wasn't much of a thing that made me go, they're going to be together forever.
No,
it
not
was just
at all.
like and so
It felt like that was done
Yeah,
in the pilot. You
definitely.
you didn't sort of like you said.
Because she didn't mention her or think about her for the rest of those.
no.
If she was pining and longing after her the whole time, it'd been like.
Yeah, it was, and there was just nothing there other than multiple missed chances.
Yeah.
That was all it was. And I don't really understand how. I mean, all right, she had all this power when she was a puddle woman, but I don't understand how. Not only that she made Bill into a puddle person, but more importantly, I don't understand how she then said, "Oh well, I can make you human again. It's just atoms, really." And it's like, wait, what? Are you a pilot or a bloody god?
I wonder if they're just like a cloud of consciousness. I guess that's what they are.
Yeah.
They don't even necessarily need to be in a human form.
Probably not.
Maybe that's the way they see each other, but they are just like ethereal
things.
You know, they're not even tangible as like a thing.
To me, that was like, oh, I can make you human again. Like, me and Kat sort of thought to ourselves, we sort of went, has that line been put in just in case the BBC were like, she was very popular.
I hope.
Chip and all. We can bring her back.
I hope so.
I think it would be great.
That'd be a cool TARDIS team, Heather and Bill. I'm so glad that everybody's fears about how she would turn out.
Yeah, you see that clip that they did, that scene, that to reveal her.
Friend from the future.
Yeah, that friend from the future thing. That was not indicative of how she was going to be at all.
Because it was just like, that is part of her character.
Yeah.
And everyone thought, that's just all there's going to be to her. She's asking questions. Chips asking questions.
Yeah.
Rose in Cliff Notes.
Yeah.
But she wasn't. She was far more than that.
Yeah, they didn't dumb her down like they did in that friend from the future.
No.
They didn't. Oh, why has she got a
because I suppose in for argument's sake they had, 12
episodes,
45 minutes to play with instead of 5 to get her over.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I guess if you'd have written her as she was in the series in that bit, she could have just been. I guess you could have said, she could have been anybody.
Yeah.
Really,
right.
So the regeneration.
Let's talk about the regeneration. I don't know why I don't have as much of a problem with Capaldi refusing to regenerate as I do with Tennant.
Yeah.
But I do still have an issue with it.
Yeah.
But I can't fathom why I have less of an issue with it with Capaldi. Because Capaldi is the 12th Doctor is actively going, not happening, staying the way I am, being really stubborn about it. 12th Doctor was a bit more blubbery and a bit more emotional, a bit more whiny about it, which I suppose is indicative of his character.
Yeah, I think, the way I read it when I watched it, but different now. Have you seen the video with Stephen Moffat where he talks about, So before that, the way I read it was the 12th Doctor, while the 10th Doctor was like, I don't want to go because I'm the Doctor and I'm bloody brilliant.
Yeah.
That was him. I thought with Capaldi's Doctor, it was more of a case of, all of my friends are dead. Nardole's going to end up getting killed by Cybermen, I'm sure. Missy's probably dead. The Master's, whatever's going on with him. Bill turned into a Cyberman and is probably dead.
And I get that with the callback to the 5th Doctor's regeneration with all the Doctor lines from Companions.
And to me, it was more of like, I just can't, I don't want to regenerate because
I don't want to go through it.
I just don't want to have to go through all this again. I don't want to have to know people and lose people.
Yeah.
I've lived for 2,000 odd years.
If he'd said that, I would have been like, but it wasn't. Maybe we were supposed to read all of that into the seeing his previous companions, which I kind of.
They didn't show Rory.
No.
Weirdly, I don't know why. So I mean that's how I read it, and then I watched the video, and they're like, oh, he's so used to being the 12th Doctor that he doesn't want to have to go through being a new man again. I was like, well. Yeah,
Other Doctors have lived longer than him.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Like Matt Smith's Doctor was on Trenzalore for how many years?
Yeah, he was
although having
300
said that,
years or whatever.
He was on the
Island
in the dial
for 4 billion years or whatever it was.
I'd be a bit shagged after that as well. I'd probably go. Oh,
but
man.
Surely he doesn't. Does he remember all of that? Because it was every time he died, it was a new clone. Who had just, from their perspective, they only just left Clara. So they were probably there for...
Hang on a minute. When Clara comes back in the Christmas special...
This year.
Yeah.
If she comes back.
Is he going to go... I don't know who you are.
Yeah.
He must, because...
Yeah. And it all comes flooding back to him. Oh, Clara, I remember you now.
Oh, no, that'll be it.
And then I'll change it.
No, that'll be it.
Yeah.
He'll remember... their memories together, and then that'll make him go, I can go now. And then he'll regenerate.
Yeah. Well,
you've heard it here first, folks.
The Sun, if you want to just get that,
this
probably what's going to happen. Yeah.
So,
hit the nail on the head.
That's it.
Yeah.
And David Bradley.
And David Bradley, yeah. I mean, I would have liked the Doctor to have regenerated in that field.
Yeah.
I think he does all that wonderful stuff about, he starts to change. He's like, oh, no more.
Yeah.
And then he just blows up. He's just there. Or that was it. Stars. I thought there'd be stars. Or I hope there'd be stars. I think that would have been a lovely line for him to regenerate on.
That would have been nice.
Yeah.
As opposed to, no!
Yeah.
I'm glad that we've got another episode with him. I'm glad that he didn't regenerate on the spot. But I did get that thing of going, shit, it might happen. They might not fake it out.
Yeah.
But then in hindsight, you go, his last lines won't be no. They'll do something else.
Yes,
obviously.
yeah.
So. David Bradley.
Well, I mean, it was like rumored for ages that he was going to turn up.
Yeah.
And then the pictures of him on location leaked.
It's a shame. It's a shame that they had to happen.
Yeah.
Because even with the rumours, I probably still wouldn't have put two and two together.
Yeah.
Icy field. Oh no! I wouldn't have gone. That's the first Doctor instantly. That would have been a nice reveal too.
I mean, I love David Bradley. I think he's a brilliant actor. I liked him as William Hartnell in An Adventure in Space and Time. I was never convinced when he was doing First Doctor bits.
Yeah.
Like, as the First Doctor. He never convinced me as the First Doctor. That is where I'm slightly dubious.
Stephen Moffat, obviously trying to sell his own programme, which
He was
makes
like,
perfect sense to say, it's creepy.
Yeah. It reminded me of that scene from The Chase. He is indistinguishable from the original.
It is exactly
and it's
the
like,
same thing.
No, he really is.
He really is.
I know you've only got one eye, but come on. I'm sure we may come back to that at Christmas.
Yeah, we may do.
Yeah, and I was chatting to a guy on Facebook about this, Jamie. He said to me, he was like, he seems to, like, even in that last moment, a bit too cuddly. You know what I mean? He's a bit too... I mean, obviously the First Doctor did have his, like...
Yeah.
You know, he had those moments. But, if you think back to how he is at that point...
He seems... I don't know about cuddly. He certainly seems more frail.
Frail, yeah.
Like, I mean...
Doddery.
I mean, for him to be wandering around in that temperature around the Arctic...
Yeah.
And to still be going...
Yeah.
Fair enough. Like, also... Is this 10th planet?
Yeah.
So
this is episode 4. He's left Ben and Polly on the Cyberman spaceship,
and he's wandered back off to the TARDIS
because obviously they follow him afterwards, and he's already inside. And they bang on the door and they're like, "Doctor, let us in." So in between that time, he goes off with the 12th Doctor as an adventure.
I like that. That's nice.
That works.
Do you know that? I'm not going to say that word. Emergency Awesome.
Oh yeah.
Did you hear his hypothesis about what's going on here? That this takes place during Marco Polo.
What?
Specifically, the roof of the world.
What? What? How? How do you get that from that?
Of all the episodes where you go, First Doctor, snow, 10th, no, Marco Polo, definitely Marco Polo.
Really?
What if we see a remake of the closing moments or
10th
parts
Planet.
of 10th Planet?
Yeah.
And then we see him...
In black and white.
Shot in black and white, 4x3.
Yeah.
And then we have the 10th Planet Cybermen in it, and
it's from Hartnell's perspective.
Yeah.
He's going along, and then he hears the no,
Yeah.
and then he's like, "Hello, what's that?" Yeah.
And that's all in black and white, and then we see the 12th Doctor, and then the
goes,
episode begins properly. Yeah.
Imagine if it was in 4:3 and
that'd be great.
Whoop, and went into colour.
That'd be amazing.
They'd never do it because it's just too good.
So before the
wolf's
lights completely there's a small one over there. He'll do.
He's already had a pigeon.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. I'm not going to pick a feather up and show it on the camera, but we are literally in a. It's like it's like.
The Battle of the Somme.
It is, which is interesting considering what's going to happen at Christmas. Series 10.
Final thoughts.
By the way, fuck doing a Q&A video. Series 10.
I really loved it. I think it's one of the best series of the modern era.
I think that there are, generally in each episode, there are more things that rub me up the wrong way in Series 10, but as a whole, I think it's great.
Yeah.
But there are less things that annoy me in terms of writing style or what to expect or what that person tends to do in their writing. there are less things that annoy me like that in series 1 and 3.
Yeah.
So I would find series 1 and 3 a more enjoyable watch in terms of not getting frustrated by certain people's writing ability or things they tend to do in their stories.
Yeah.
But all that aside, I think series 10 has been the best series for a decade.
Yeah.
The best series for a decade.
Yeah.
Which is high praise, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, I went into this. I was not expecting much from this series. From my point of view, going into this series, I was like, this is the fluff before the brand new era.
Yeah.
Where
and you felt like they're just gonna coast this out until
But fair play to the production team. They did a really good job of reinvigorating.
It was almost like a new show.
It was.
It's almost like they want to steal the thunder of the show when it relaunches next year.
My problem was, why the hell didn't they do this for series fucking 10? If this had happened in series 10, we would have had quite, and we had then series was series 10. If it was the same quality, we would have had 2 very good series for Peter Capaldi.
Yeah.
Instead, we got Series 8, which was alright.
Yeah.
Series 9, which I think is probably one of the worst series since it came back.
9 and 6.
9 and 6, yeah, definitely. 9 and 6 are the worst series.
9, 6, 2.
I don't mind 2. Yeah, I don't know. But 9 and 6 are the pinnacle of crappiness.
Do you think we're going to find out the identity of the new Doctor between now and Christmas, or do you think they're going to... Because Stephen Moffat has said if he had it his way, nobody would know until the moment that person regenerates on screen. So, do we think that he is going to stick to that, or do we think that Stephen is going to have to... because he even says... There's no way that we can actually do it because Doctor Who's a media circus and we have to do it for various reasons. Do you think he's going to go, I mean, we have to, or do you think he's going to go, no, let's save it.
I don't know. I mean...
Because remember when we did the preview video, we were like, I guess we're going to find out who the new Doctor is by this time. We still don't know.
I'm amazed.
Which is remarkable.
I thought we'd find out by now.
I mean, Chris Marshall... his name's been all over the place, so it is kind of like people are expecting it and waiting for it.
Yeah.
But it's become a meme at this point.
Yeah.
He is a meme. He is a living meme.
That is hilarious. He's like, if he's not,
so it's almost like when he's cast as the Doctor, it's almost like he's been tarnished as a Doctor before he even becomes the Doctor.
I think it's even funnier if he's not cast as the Doctor and if he's never in the series, because he's like, I touched Doctor Who in a way that
nobody has
else.
before. That's true.
That's true. I wasn't even the Doctor, but I was.
But I was the Doctor.
Yeah, for
all those months, I was actually the Doctor.
Yeah.
Phoebe Waller-Bridge. Now, since we did the preview video and we went through that list, I have seen Fleabag.
Oh yeah.
Which is the show that she wrote and she's in, and it is one of the funniest programs.
Oh really? Okay.
I have seen comedy programs that I have seen in the last 10 years.
Wow. Okay. High praise.
It is absolutely incredible.
Is she Doctor Who though?
I can see it.
Okay.
As long as she doesn't do any, I mean, you have to watch. If anyone's watched Fleabag, as long as she doesn't mention 90% of the stuff that she says in that program, she'll be fine.
Okay.
I could totally see her being the Doctor.
Okay.
Fleabag is so good. She's got such presence. She's got great comic timing. I know, of course, for people who know that have seen that series, it goes to some emotional and dark places, and she's
good.
Carries it. She's absolutely brilliant in it. She's my new favourite person and total front runner for that job in my opinion. It's weird to think from going who to totally do it, please.
Interesting. She said no, and her theatre company put out a tweet like today saying, "Stop asking her. It's not. She's not the part.
Shit.
She's doing other things." I mean, that could just all be a lie. That could be them saving face. But back to the question:
are we going to get the next Doctor live?
Oh God, I hope not. I hope they just announce it in the papers.
Chris Marshall.
Right, well, okay. I would love them to keep it a secret, and like looking at the usual like people who get out all the spoilers on things like Gallifrey Base, the amount of people who have said now that Chibnall's coming in, getting spoilers is going to be so difficult because he is so shit hot on keeping stuff secret. Like Broadchurch was just like locked down. Scripts were all collected at the end of the day. No one was allowed to take scripts home. All that kind of thing, you know.
So they didn't leave it in a taxi.
Yeah, or anything like that.
Actually, somebody who lived with me knew the person that found that script in the cab.
That's hilarious. Amazing. That's fantastic. Yeah, so I mean, I'd love it to happen, but I think the reason why we will find out before Christmas is because we know that there are people out there who know. Like Russell T Davies knows, you know. And if Russell T Davies knows, and actually Graham Norton said on the radio the other day, he said, "Oh, I think I know who it is." He said because there was something going on at like Wraithlock Studios or something, and it was all like umbrellas over people coming out of cars. And he said, "Oh, I think that's so and so. That's probably the new Doctor Who." And he said, "I'm saying this now." He said, "and I can see the people who came in with Paul Mackey like panicking, like." You know, and he was laughing about it. And I think if things like that are happening, it's only a matter of time before something's going to get said. Someone's going to say, "Oh, it's so and so," and a paper's going to run with it, and they're going to be like, "Shit, we're going to have to," or it gets too close, and they're like, "We're going to have to just announce it."
It's clearly somebody who is semi-regularly in the public eye, because it's Graham Norton.
Yeah, he's
got Tom Cruise's phone number in his mobile, probably.
So he knew. It was obviously someone who he knew.
I wonder if. It sounds bad to say. Would Chris Marshall even be on Graham Norton's radar? That sounds like a terrible thing to say. Sorry, Chris. I'm sure you'll be brilliant when you eventually become the Doctor. Shit, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
Blimey.
I think, you know, I mean, I've heard from other people that they said, "Oh, it's not going to be a woman," but I mean, I really don't know at this point.
No.
I've said it before. I want it to be a man of colour.
Yeah.
That is my choice. If it turns out to be just another white bloke, particularly a young white bloke, I just feel like I will be a bit disappointed.
Yeah.
You know, I think.
Anyway, okay, let's wrap this up before we get hypothermia.
Yeah, before the fire just burns out. You have to do that. We'll blow it and then
it's alright, it's fine.
Cut. Pour the water on.
Oh, no. Everyone would die. There's look at all these dodgy cables.
Oh my god. Oh yeah. So many bloody strip leads. Oh my god. Yeah, well that was it. That was Series 10. We were here so long talking about it that it went from day to night.
So,
amazing.
So thank you very much for watching the review of Death.
That's a really good idea. Why didn't we put torches on?
Because it's only like 12% battery.
Oh shit. Okay.
Thank you very much for watching this chilly, cold instalment that we should be telling ghost stories.
Yeah. I need a wee. I've needed a wee since we started. I thought I can hold on. We've been here for like 2 hours.
Now that is chilling. Thank you very much.
Well, might just do it here.
Probably be warm.
I didn't tell you. I just did it. Just went with it.
There's worse things in this garden. Thank you very much for watching this episode of the Review of Death.
Yeah.
It's been a roller coaster.
We've had budget cuts.
Yeah.
We can't light us properly.
It's like back in the day at BBC Studios where they would literally just go and cut the lights
turn
out.
the electric off.
So we'll have to put 50p in the meter. But next time you see us, we won't have a regularly scheduled Q&A directly afterwards.
No.
Because if we did, it would be morning.
Yeah.
Morning would break by the time we finish recording that.
I'm going to sneeze.